Hello, hello, AirDNA data nerds. I'm Mariah Kamei, VP of Marketing, and today I am here with Jamie Lane, our short-term rental soothsayer. In reality, he's our VP of Research, and this is our first episode, our inaugural edition of a monthly recap to let you know what's happening in the biz. Whether you're a host, an entrepreneur, an STR investor, or just a tourism professional, you need to keep up with the trends in supply, demand, surging markets, and of course, the overall health of the vacation rental market. And that's why I'm sitting down with the man behind the numbers over here at AirDNA. So Jamie, you've been back on the travel circuit a little bit lately. What are you seeing out there? What's the overall sentiment? How safe do you feel traveling these days?
And I feel super safe. Having me and my family got COVID about a month ago. So back on the travel circuit and feeling confident in my in getting back out there. But there's a lot of positive sentiment in what's going to happen in 2022, really across all sectors of lodging, whether it's short-term rentals, hotels, resorts, even cruises. A lot of optimism out there.
I love it. I love it. I know it's like the next variant. We're ready for it. It can't stop this show. And congratulations, you're now in the cool kids club. You've gotten Omicron, I assume, and now you're ready to go. I love it. Well, same here. We're ready to travel again. Well, let's dig in a little bit. Let's start with some of the fundamentals. I think, of course, everyone's always super interested in what's happening with supply and demand, particularly here in the United States. Loaded question, is supply meeting demand?
Yeah, so let's start with demand because it's really been a roller coaster over the past 2 years, but really a positive story today. So 2021, we surpassed 2019 levels of demand for the first time ever. As of April and full year, we actually surpassed 2019. As we sit here now, looking at January 2022, demand was 22% higher than January 2019. Great. So rewind to, let's say we were talking in January 2021, demand was still 17% lower than in 2019. So we're in a totally different position today than we were just a year ago. And to answer your question around is how supply meeting demand, the answer is definitely no. We haven't seen the recovery in supply like that's happened so far in demand. We have seen just this past January is the first month that we were actually above 2019 levels for a single month. So we are starting to grow supply. In January, we actually saw the most number of new short-term rentals added, 58,000. So that was a pre-pandemic peak. So we are seeing interest come back. The revenue potential for hosts is at record highs. We're at almost 40% more revenue being earned on average than pre-pandemic.
So, wow, Jamie, it sounds like it's such a great time to get into this business, of course, and invest in short-term rentals. I know a few months ago, what we were seeing is there was sort of like this big divide about where to invest, right? Rural versus urban. How have we seen urban bounce back the same way that, rural was sort of going gangbusters a little while ago for probably obvious reasons, a little safer to, of course, travel into rural areas?
Yeah, and surprisingly, the urban-rural divide still hasn't closed yet. So urban demand is still about 25% down versus pre-COVID levels. And it's really being hindered by just a few sort of key gateway cities. So think New York, Boston, San Francisco, Atlanta, or Los Angeles, demand still down about 40 or 50% relative to 2019. And the key piece of demand that isn't back yet is international travel. So in each of these markets, it's about 40, 50% of demand traditionally came from international travelers. And we just haven't seen much of a recovery yet in those type of travelers. On the flip side, rural travel, so travel to sort of small city, rural areas throughout the country, is now double what it was pre-pandemic. So over 100% growth, and that's just continued to climb throughout really the past 2 years.
Geez, it's so interesting. Like, I wonder, I mean, I know like for me personally, I've got small kids. We're holding off on any international travel until we sort of feel like we can get them vaccinated. But any other sort of, I mean, it sounds like maybe folks are just getting more comfortable traveling in their backyards.
Yeah, and where we have just seen continued constant growth and strength is in sort of the destination markets, whether it's coastal mountain markets around the country. I know you're in Denver, sort of the Colorado mountain markets are killing it. And we just haven't seen normal seasonality patterns. And generally you've got peak season in the summer and the winter, and people sort of avoid the mud season in the spring and fall, or in the spring, and maybe you get some good demand with the leaves changing, but it's really been high occupancy throughout the entire year. People wanting to get out of their houses, still a huge percentage of people working remotely and wanting to travel. They can work while they're traveling, and these destination areas are attractive for that.
Love it. Yeah, I feel like the toothpaste is out of the tube on that one, right? People are not going to go back to the office potentially. Love that. Yeah. And I'll say I'm fit right into that trend. I was just looking at, spa resorts, at ski resorts, because you can, save a little bit of money if you do it in the mud season. I love that. All right. Well, let's get down to brass tacks, my friend. Let's talk a little bit about what you think is going to happen in 2022. That's what everyone wants to know, right?
Yeah. And it really was a question in sort of December. Cases were peaking around the country. Omicron was all anyone was talking about. New booking activity for short-term rentals was sort of the weakest we'd seen in months. And traditionally, January is sort of the kickoff for spring and summer bookings. And it was a real question on whether or not we were going to see that or not, with cases still high. And without a question, people are excited to travel this year. We saw the most bookings ever in a January. It was unbelievably strong, and it's really set us up for the spring and summer travel season, where bookings are through the roof. So looking at spring travel, we're already pacing 70% higher. So travel for March and April than we were at the beginning of last year, and 37% higher than 2019. And then as we look out in the summer, it's really just as strong. Like it's going to be a great year for the industry.
I love that. That was going to be my next question, is like, how do we feel like that's going to continue to, is that sort of like this huge pent up demand and then it's going to start to plateau, or if we expect to sort of see that trend to continue to grow, at least at a nice exponential clip here?
Yeah. So traditionally we see sort of the pickup in January for spring travel, and then a pickup in March for summer travel.
Right.
And usually there's sort of a lull in February, sort of in between. So far in February, we're not seeing that lull. So sort of continued growth. And I really expect that to continue through summer. Once we get to summer, then there's some question on whether or not we can really grow at the same pace once we get to fall, given that how strong fall was in 2021, as sort of the country got vaccinated and the numbers really started to take off. So back half of the year, we're going to start getting some tougher comps to grow against. But first half of the year, the numbers are going to look great.
Love that. Love to hear that. Well, so lots and lots of tailwind, obviously, from a demand perspective. Folks want to travel. Obviously bookings are at a record high. Let's talk a little bit about, like, sort of, as an investor, as a host, some of the obstacles that might get in your way. So, you obviously don't have to be, you'd have to be under a rock, let's say that, to not be hearing a lot about inflation these days. Do we see that creeping into the sort of like the pricing and everything else that you're seeing in the market?
Yeah, so it's creeping in two different ways. The first way is in ADR growth. So average daily rates, what is the consumer paying? In 2020, rates grew about 9%. And that was almost entirely from mix shift of people spending less in sort of urban areas and more in destination areas. And on average, destination areas are 40-50% more expensive than urban areas. You have a large home, multiple rooms compared to condo apartment in urban areas. So a lot of that was mix shift in 2020. 2021, we saw rates grow by 12%. And that was almost entirely off of the strength of demand. Wow. And where it's put pricing power squarely in the hands of the hosts. And they were able to sort of leverage that increased demand, really high occupancies, in pushing prices. They had dropped sort of in individual markets in 2020. People weren't sure how travel was going to happen. So they pulled a lot of that back in 2021. So far in 2020, that strength has continued. We're pacing up about 5% for spring, about 7% for summer. So and ADRs are continuing to push higher. Where inflation's actually going to hurt maybe the growth opportunity for short-term rentals is in two fronts. One is on housing prices. So hosts are competing with really everyone else in the country that wants to live in sort of these hot growth markets. So housing prices up 20, 30, 40, 50% in some areas. That could put sort of the brakes on the growth of supply, given it's more expensive to buy homes and sort of bring them into, and just the competition. There's fewer homes on the market today than really any time in recent history. And that's going to make it hard for investors to find properties to bring. And then once they're operating, labor costs are a major concern, not only for short-term rentals, but really all types of lodging, really across the entire labor sector. So great thing for short-term rentals, though, is they get repriced every day. If you're a host and you're seeing your labor costs go up, you have the opportunity to sort of pass that through to the guests in the form of higher prices. So we encourage hosts to keep an eye on their costs and making sure they're adjusting their rates accordingly.
Love that. Yeah. No, well, I think, Jimmy, what you're telling me is that I need to invest in like a yurt in the middle of nowhere that doesn't need to be cleaned, and it's not going to cost me, 20% over asking to get, hopefully.
Build it yourself. Go to Home Depot, find some materials.
Yeah, maybe a shed.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Mariah, I do have a question for you, though. So
wait, no, that's not how this works, Jamie. That's not how this works.
So one of my favorite leading indicators for new supply is actually our own website traffic. So 90% of our subscribers are hosts looking to find their next investment. But I know there's probably some limits to what you can share, but can you give me a sense of sort of the interest in short-term rentals today, just from our own traffic?
Oh my gosh, the tables have turned. I love this. That's such a smart question. I love that. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what, we've just had a gangbuster January and expecting similar for February in terms of demand. Yep. Actually, like interest, people coming to the website, that is up sort of through the roof. We have seasonality, believe it or not, in this business as well. So yeah, the website visitors kind of trough in December and then skyrocketed beyond our wildest dreams in January. And yeah, I think yesterday we were patting ourselves a little bit on the back over here on the marketing team. We had, I think, a record-breaking day in terms of how many subscribers we had. So, yep, I think we might see supply come up. There's definitely a lot of interest in what this market can do, and when you look at all your different opportunities to fuel the lifestyle that you're looking for, to generate income, to get in on something that's, obviously here to stay, I think it makes a lot of sense, of course, to look at our data. Shameless plug, guys, shameless plug. You got to come look at what Market Minder is going to tell you. Well, Jamie, I have enjoyed this so much. I love these quick hits. I think the audience will as well. I should tell you, I was voted most likely to have my own talk show in high school. So you have fulfilled a lifelong dream of mine. Thank you. Thank you for doing this with me today. Any other parting words of wisdom we should give our audience before we go?
No, I would just tell our audience to keep an eye out for future videos. If you're watching on YouTube, I think you're supposed to click down and subscribe.
Yeah, click down and subscribe.
Yeah, and
we
then
know how to do this.
Yeah, we'll keep these up on a regular basis.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to do this every month, guys. We're going to give you the quick hits. And then, of course, you can always read some of our other content online. Jamie puts out an amazing report with his team every month so that you guys can keep up on a regular basis.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mariah.
Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it.
All right. See everyone on the road.
Bye.